The Square Ball Podcast.
The show's brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% off your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. More information there if you follow that link. Dan, Michael and Moscow here with you. Part 3 of the show is Heroes and Villains. First, we do the Ken Bates Villain of the Week Award, and we go to our subscribers, our TSB Plus subscribers, for nominations on this, who've sent us many. It feels a little bit misplaced this week because I'm looking down this list. I'm seeing Raphinha, Llorente, Meslier, Calvin, Dan James, Drame, Harrison. Then we get down to Sky, Anthony Taylor, VAR, Tim Krul, Neil Warnock, Farker, Pookie, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of leads. It's top heavy with leads at the top there.
Why did they even bother winning? This is the thanks to get. Bunch of villains.
I mean, Raphinha, do we want to have a word about him attacking Marcelo Bielsa? Lack of apology?
Yes, I mean, that was all the nominations were for that, it's worth saying. I don't think anyone had an issue with his performance.
No. Given that he's single-handedly carrying us at the minute.
Yes. So there was that. And also, one of Calvin's nominations was also for misplacing the pass so badly that it caused our best player to almost kill our manager.
Right.
Jacob with that nomination. So
attempted. So he's the attempted murder from Raphinha, and then he's aiding and abetting is Calvin.
Yeah, he made him do it.
And pointed out that Pierre Drama came to Wayne's attention for pelting Bielsa with the ball mere moments after Raphinha had tried to concuss him. So I don't know. People like to search for these hints of problems within the camp. Has Bielsa lost the dressing room? And I think there's no clearer example of that happening than
when they start attacking him.
Calvin setting up Raphinha to knock him to the ground, and then when that doesn't work, that's not finished him off. So Pierre Drama is so grateful for being given his Premier League debut that he's firing the ball into his head.
Nominations here for Dan James on a legitimate football tip, like Roger and Noel Whelan's discount telesales are both putting forward Dan James, calling him out for his decision making, and Noel Whelan's discount telesales suggests he's causing more problems than he solves right now. I think that's a bit unfair.
He definitely should not have given the ball to Raphinha to score that goal, should he?
Well, exactly. It's like that was a good ball. It was a really intelligent ball in quite a tight situation.
And he said there was one cleared off the line in this game in the first half that I don't think there was anything wrong with what Dan James did.
Should have put it in the net.
For that. Well, he was close, and wasn't there a similar one against Wolves? But then before that was Southampton, when that was a bit neither here nor there. But
I think causing more problems than he solves, I guess, is what we see with admittedly it's caused by Bamford being injured as well, but the fact we seem to have shoehorned him into a team alongside two other wingers, and it's not great.
And the other point is the parameters here. This is the person who's caused us the most misery over the last 7 days, and Dan James is very low on that list. Let me tell you,
because Jackie Harrison's higher.
Wow.
He's got 4 nominations on this, and also Jackie's dog nappers. Jeff P saying the Malaysian betting syndicate who appeared to have kidnapped Jack Harrison's dog. Where else would he try to play a Norwich player in for an undeserved equaliser? Yeah, it is strange what's happening with Harrison at the moment. He doesn't look himself, does he?
No.
Which I guess is, if Bamford is back, maybe this means Dan James just plays on the wing. Harrison has a little spell on the bench. And that's why it's nice to have some options.
A squad, yeah. Are we seeing him? I can't remember, again, the person on Wacko who I saw post this, but we're basically seeing him return to the mean is the point that was put forward, that he started off a bit mediocre, then he hit the heights the second season, and so he's just sort of swinging back and forth and just sort of settling on a median value of being
he had 2 really good seasons.
A decent footballer.
He's not that at the moment, though. He's quite bad.
Right.
Whereas he's actually been really good for 2 seasons. So,
but do we maintain a confidence in him that he just needs to basically play his way out of it, like a lot of them?
Yeah, I don't get the impression from everything we know of Jack Harrison, you don't get the impression it's probably been caused by the fact he's going out on the piss every evening or not trying in training.
He's ridiculously dedicated.
Exactly. He's a very diligent young man, isn't he? From everything we can gather, anyway. So I can't imagine he's sacking it off in any way.
His girlfriend was saying to me, "You will stay home and you will work out today on videos for YouTube or TikTok or whatever it might be, Instagram." I'd do it.
I think of the 2 most likely explanations for his poor form. If it's either that he's underneath, he's actually a terrible footballer and will never be good again, or the after effects of COVID. I'm going to go with the COVID one because I think that feels more like evidence that you could look at as an explanation, rather than just he was never that good in the first place, and those 2 seasons when he was good were a flash in the pan. However, the other angle on you mentioned the dog nappers, and when you hear a rumor often enough, you start to wonder if it's there's some truth in it, because that was Jeff P wondering if his dog had been kidnapped, and Mehdi said whoever has kidnapped Jackie himself and brought back the New York City FC version. So there's a lot of people talking about kidnapping independently of each other with regard to Jackie Harrison. So if it's not him or his dog, his dog. Is somebody been kidnapped? Has something been kidnapped? Has another pet or his hamsters being held hostage? I don't know.
By weight of nominations, Anthony Taylor should win this by rights, because Andrew, Aaron, Gary, Boney M, Jack, Paul Gascoigne, Orlando, Sazzy, Pete, Keith, Connor, Philip,
everybody.
Just loads of people. Thank you all for getting in touch with us and suggesting Anthony Taylor. Although Pete did call him Andy Taylor.
Well, also, he should be...
And Roger Taylor as well. Nominate him.
From Queen.
Mm-hmm.
He should be Tony Taylor. Why has he missed out? He's denying himself the opportunity to be TT.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be called Anthony. Just be called Tony. It's more... Tony Taylor's a fun name. Imagine if I was to tell you about somebody, do you know my mate Tony Taylor? You'd want to know about him.
I'd go for a pint with him.
If it was Anthony Taylor...
It's a touch of the Benjamin Whites, isn't it?
Anthony Taylor sounds like a referee. Yeah. Whereas Tony Taylor's fine. So for refusing to be Tony,
well, if you did go to the pub for a pint with Anthony Taylor, like let's say you've got a mutual friend and they go, "I just fancy we're going to Stockport. We're going to go for a beer. My mate Anthony's coming along." Anthony, you got a turn. Anyway, I'll come along for a pint with him. You sat down. And you went, it's Premier League referee Anthony Taylor. I didn't know that. What do you reckon he'd be like? Do you reckon he'd sit there and talk about himself, or would he be self-effacing? What do you think he'd be like over a pint? Because the pint test is very important. I've spoken about it before on this podcast. You can run anybody through the pint test, the pint filter, to see whether you get on with them or not. What about Taylor?
Referees are a bit of a strange breed, generally. I think they range from being probably quite officious and boring to being like Jeff Winter or Mike Dean, who were just too loud all the time and would just talk over you. I get the feeling he'd be more on the quiet side of things. I wouldn't want to go, I've got to be honest.
No.
From what I've seen.
Would you just walk out there and you say, I can't sit down with the referee?
I would glass him and leave the pub.
Right.
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't, would you?
No, I'm a nice. But I wouldn't be eager to meet him, I have to say.
Well, you wouldn't become Facebook friends?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Unless he requests, and then he's kind of awkward, and you
can't say no, can you?
It's hard to say no to him, particularly because it's like...
Well, you can accept them, but then you could put him on mute and then give it 6 months and then just quietly unfriend him, couldn't you? What do you reckon?
I mean, I don't think it's going to crop up. No. It's fine. I'm not worried about it.
This fictional scenario is not one that's likely to play out?
No, it doesn't concern me at all.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
We need to finish off the Leeds players anyway.
Do we? We've got more further down, have we?
Melier got a couple, a few too many mistakes in the last 2 outings, which is fair enough. People saying he's not. Connor was saying he doesn't seem as focused and sharp as last year, which I don't know. He passed the ball out, didn't he? Which kind of was, despite Moscow's attempts to blame Jamie Shackleton for it. Melier did just kick it straight out of play, which was a shame. And also from the corner, then Llorente is getting criticised. Jay saying Llorente is the player fans think Liam Cooper is, always grabbing on midriffs at shirts and not actually bothering to track a large centre half of a man. I mean, it annoys me when they don't track their markers. That does annoy me. But I think the shirt grabbing and the wrestling, it's one for the ages, isn't it? They all do it. They're all at it. I mean, like, if the attacker wasn't pulling the centre half shirt and playing a bit roughhouse with them, then they wouldn't do it in return, would they? Maybe, but it is concerning. I mean, if you're going to pull someone's shirt, at least stop them getting to the header. Yeah. Which we seem to be failing to do as well. So we're giving them 2 options there. You can have the header, and if that doesn't go in, maybe you'll get a penalty. Okay. Don't do that. Fine. Any other Leeds ones that I've missed there off the list? Just looking further down. There's a few Norwich ones, isn't there? Like Pookie gets a nomination from Ding, who suggests he was indulging in Jimenez levels of cheating. I mean, like Cooper was laughing when he got that free kick against Cooper, and Cooper was just like laughing with him, saying that was ridiculous. I mean, he did put his hands on him, but it did also suggest from the footage that Liam Cooper might be the strongest man in the world, because he did literally just lay his hands on his back and then his legs went spinning out from under him. So yeah, we have our own players who do this from time to time, don't we? On a Norwich tip, there was although it's actually more of a nomination for Michael,
Boney M has nominated Michael Normanton.
As Farker. Yeah, as Farker.
Well, it seems people preferred back in the on the podcast before we did the video, when we just used to play the tapes of Farker's interviews. Now,
rather than Michael lip syncing to them.
Yeah, now that we've been playing them with you, visualizing and trying to mouth along to them, people think that your visual impression of him is distracting from us just playing the tape recording.
I'm going to say we need to get a wig.
And some people are...
We need to get a wig for you.
Some people seem to be being lulled into the idea we've so effectively synced you up with the audio that people think it's you doing the impression.
It'll all go Milli Vanilli one week, and I'll be found out.
Yeah, well, I think people would prefer that. They feel happier in a world where they understand quite clearly that it's Farker's voice being played off of a tape rather than you doing the voice. So I don't know if maybe we have to teach you to do ventriloquist trainings. Is that how it works, or do you need to be the dummy and we have you dressed as Farker?
You say Daniel Farker's going to put his hand in me?
I mean, if you insist.
But they're quite big, his hands as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a picture of him now because I want to see what his hair's like. It's in curtains, and he tends to tuck it behind his ears, and he's grown it down his neck.
He's going bald as well.
You noticed this, didn't you, as a man experienced in that field?
Yeah, but he's got the difficulty of having long hair and going bald, which leaves you with, you've got to make a decision on that. Because it's kind of slicked around the place, he sort of hides it, but sometimes you get an angle and you think, oh dear.
Because it does take, it takes a lot for a middle-aged man to have long hair. It's a noticeable thing, isn't it?
What happens if at some point soon Daniel Farker's doing a post-match interview after another Norwich defeat and he's shaved his head bald and he's got a Pontefract accent? What do we do then? Does that mean we have to swap them?
We've gone into the Matrix there, haven't we, if that happens? Christ. Right, back to the nominations then. Philip actually specifically picks out his stupid haircut. I should say that. Who else have we got? I mean,
it's a perfectly good haircut if you are in a new metal band around the year 2000. It's just, it does look a little bit out of place on a middle-aged Premier League manager in 2021.
I'm just looking at how old he is. How old is Farker now? You've been treated to some live Wikipedia-ing now. He is 45 years old, Daniel Farker.
Yeah, I mean, it's too old to have long hair, isn't it?
You
As in fact, speaking of another nomination on
Says
here,
the bald man.
Thomas Frank.
Yep.
He's actually been nominated not for his hair, although we've touched on the fact it makes him look creepy on previous occasions, but saying he basically should have done his job properly and beaten Burnley, and then we would be clear of the bottom three.
Yeah. But I'm quite enjoying Brentford just slowly getting pulled into this. Slowly getting pulled down the league.
The more kind of mishmash there is in the middle of the table, with like Wolves beat Everton, didn't they, and Watford beating Everton, kind of teams having these kind of runs, the easier it will be for us to hit good form and qualify for Europe, because we'll just streak straight through them all to the top of the table. So I'm very much in favour of Brentford winning a couple and losing a couple.
Daniel Levy gets a nomination. A preemptive one from Spadge84 suggests they could have kept Nuno in his job until we play them after the international break. But maybe the new manager bounce is something we can contend with, because they won't know what to do yet.
I mean, if Harry Kane looks even half-arsed, that'll be a problem. Whereas, as it is, he looks like a man who was annoyed.
It's almost like he was denied a massive...
He wasn't allowed to leave, doesn't he?
I think that's everybody, isn't it?
Chris Wilder.
Okay.
Chris Wilder on there for
making it about himself.
Yeah, on Match of the Day too. Couldn't wait to bring up his history with Leeds. And it's not on the sheet because it was mentioned in the previous section in propaganda, and it wasn't given a mention. But someone did suggest on the comments that he looked like a beanbag stuffed into a child's car seat, which was nice on Match of the Day.
I like that. Very good. Right, go on then. Who's your villain of the week? Is it Anthony Taylor? He's got the most nominations. I mean, it's always a good indicator, but anybody you think is more deserving?
Oh, we didn't mention Sky, actually.
Oh, right, yeah.
We didn't mention Sky, which we were, as we said, we were on the Noel Whelan stream instead. So we had somebody else, but Efan Akoku was apparently really annoying on there. Yeah. But because I didn't hear it personally, I feel less inclined to give it to him, because I wasn't personally bothered by it.
Nathaniel does say that's the first time in a long time I've had to mute the Sky commentary. It was like listening to East Anglia FM.
I mean, we'll give it to Sky or Anthony Taylor or one of our players.
I don't think we should give it to one of our players in a week where we've won and we were desperately crying out for a victory. It feels misplaced. I know things are not perfect at the minute, but they're better than they were because we got 3 points. So can we rule out all Leeds United
Give it
nominations?
to Taylor.
Yeah?
He ruined what would have been a bad game anyway, but he made it worse.
Okay, fair enough. Right, on to the Gaetano Berardi Hero of the Week award. Nominations then, who have we got?
By volume, Raphinha, you would have to say. He must have about 15 people saying him, probably because he scored.
I mean, he's going to win it, isn't he?
The McCormack of 2021, says Dale S.
Yeah, he may be dragging us up by the bootstraps, but I think maybe we need that. And not to mention the shithousing afterwards, which happened after we'd recorded the match ball, I think, which was him trolling Tim Krul for an event that happened before he joined Leeds United.
It's very good. And Andrew Larkin also proposed a different take on his villainy that he was nominated for smashing into Bielsa, but he points out his technique for not destroying Bielsa when they collided showed what a class act he is. Because I don't think there was even a bruise on Marcelo, was there, when that happened? It was like being knocked over by a feather. And that was all about Raphinha managing the situation superbly so as not to hurt him. And let's face it, poor old Bielsa wasn't getting much help from his backroom staff, considering he pays their wages out of his own pocket and gives them every possible opportunity under the sun. And they're supposed to be this crack squad of like the A-team crew who he calls up whenever there's a crisis and they're going to a new club. And I don't know if they're instructed, if he tells them, if anything happens to me, don't get involved, save yourselves, just carry on, keep the work going. But nobody was going to help him.
No. Would you touch him, though?
What society do we live in?
Bielsa did him.
An old man takes a tumble.
Is nobody going to help him?
Bielsa did receive a nomination from Nathaniel for building a gym and then using it to make sure Raphinha can't take him out completely. So I think he's suggesting that a weaker man could have been injured by this, but because Bielsa is now getting hench.
Staff gym at Ellen Road, isn't it? We should add. He's built it for the staff who work at Leeds United as a gift to them. The cost of it, I reported 150 grand, wasn't it? And Mrs. Bielsa, the architect, she designed it, which is cool. Imagine trying to say no to him.
I wonder if you have to log a certain number of hours. Like it's having to prove that you really like the gift that your granddad gave you, but you didn't really want it. Are you playing with it?
Well, the 150 grand gym, yeah.
Yeah, definitely can't wait to spend all day in there.
Is this one of those Fitbits you bought me as well? Have you modified the strap so I can't take it off? Yes, I will monitor.
Going back to the Brazilians, Rodrigo gets a few nominations. John, Keith, Pete, and Winnie. 2 and 2, as Winnie points out, for Rodrigo. So hopefully he's finding his form again, growing into it like the rest of the team.
And some nominations for the real hero of that goal, which was of course Tim Krul for letting it in, which was good of him.
Yeah, he did God's work, didn't he? Strout gets nominations. We mentioned him over on Propaganda, saying that we sort of failed to really give him the props that were due on the match ball, because he was good. He was really good, I thought.
Jacob does single him out for the volley pass, which was like an outside of the boot spray over to the right wing for Raphinha, which was very nice.
And he did get loads of praise off of Bielsa, which is probably more valuable to him than anything we can say. So I think he'll be okay without us having highlighted his performance too well. But he was very good.
Connor's nominated drama as well for coming in and looking capable. Again, when we're talking about what these awards are given out for, it's about who's really, secured the highlight of the week, made us feel great. So these are outliers.
We can have some room for some little nods here and there. Good work.
A tip of the hat.
Let's cover off Forshaw at this point. And then he got a few nominations for being alive.
Like a new signing.
Connor went for.
Which is a phrase I know, it's the cliche and all that, but Lorne pulls it out the bag like a new signing. In all seriousness, he's looked fairly comfortable in the minutes that he's had so far. Nothing out of this world, but solid when we've needed it.
I know Radrizzani's tweet, as they often are, was ill-advised and probably better off not said, but a fit Adam Forshaw will be an asset.
Yeah, because we need a midfielder at very least. And
just in general, I mean, he's a good player. He doesn't excite anybody, and he never has, but I don't think he would make any squad of our kind of level worse.
Roger is going on the defensive for Liam Cooper, saying he was solid as always. Get off his back.
Not on his back.
It's normally Liam Cooper on someone's back, etc., etc. No, he was good.
He used to be Scott Wootton fucking headbutting him every game, wasn't it? Knocking him out. Yeah,
I think
another
I
good game.
think I did point out that if Cooper had done the Llorente things, people would have been going absolutely mad at him because it's Llorente. People are like, he's fine. He's from Spain. He knows what he's doing.
But it is also about context, and I think we are more fearful of Cooperisms based on historical evidence than we are of Llorente-isms. There have not been too many that have cost us so far, but if he was prone to it every week, then you'd start to get a rep for it, wouldn't you?
But the other context is that he's playing in a back line that has a midfielder at each fullback position. Crazy Ed from Spain next to him playing his 20th match in the Premier League, and Pascal Struijk, who everybody likes more than him. So he's taking on some extra responsibilities at the back at the moment, and particularly, I think the Wolves game is still the one where you really, absolutely big him up for how brilliantly he dealt with Traore. And then probably the major thing about the Norwich performance is that compared to Llorente and Struijk, didn't notice him. He just solid, nothing happened, he was good, and we needed some of that. It's a little bit like the Forshaw one, just come on. Nothing flashy, just somebody digging it out and getting a win.
Plenty of love and support for Stuart Dallas as well, and I think he would be a contender for this had Raphinha not completely.
If he'd scored, that's the problem, isn't it? Dallas will give you all the sympathy in the world for having lost your close friend and suffered through coincident bout of COVID that meant you couldn't be involved in the situation. I don't think he was even able to go to the funeral because instead he was locked away in a hotel room with a deadly disease. But he didn't score against Norwich, did he?
Well, no. No, I know. No, we do obviously send all our sincere thoughts and best wishes to him.
It is kind of a bad bit. The worst bit about being a footballer is that you don't really allow time off for stuff. Like the Athletic ran an article a while ago about how footballers don't really get paternity leave either. It's expected that you, as Dan James had to fly to Fulham, didn't he, on the same night as his son was born. He's having to try and play on the wing hours after just having watched that. So it's and it's same with Dallas, I guess. You can't be like, if it was a normal job, you might say, oh, this has happened, I'm alright to just have a week or two off, and people would go, oh yeah, it's fine, no bother. But as it is, he's just kind of had to
you don't have time to grieve as a footballer, as he put it.
He's had to play every position.
I know. Yeah, well, the thing is, they sort of suggest, don't they, that you get your life after you retire when you're in your mid-30s. You can then go off and live your life with your nice wealth and stuff, but it doesn't stop situations like this occurring where, like you said, under normal circumstances, it'd be like, yeah, just take the time off, take as much as you need because it's shit.
I think there's an idea that because of the timing or the hours that a footballer are expected to work, that you can manage it around it. You're only training in the mornings, so you can be sad in the afternoons, and then as long as you turn up on Saturday at 3:00, you can get through it that way. So there's whereas if it was a 9-to-5 job, then you're blocking out the whole day and you're just not going. Whereas the idea with football is you can be there for bits and then be there for not bits. So they kind of manage it that way. I'm not sure it really works, and I think it would be. And I wonder if it hadn't been for the COVID that meant he was quarantining at the same time as the real crux of the events was going on. He was. Which was the reason for him withdrawing from the Northern Ireland squad. I guess he couldn't go with COVID as well, but it was all at the same time. Whether the club would have said, just go back to Belfast for a couple of weeks and we'll be fine. You'd hope that football can move in that direction. If it hadn't been for the COVID, he might have been given more of an opportunity. But certainly, it was interesting that when he did say, I just feel like I have to crack on, and maybe one day I'll look back and say this is the wrong thing to do. Nobody really that I've seen has said, no, it's definitely the right thing to do. There's a general acceptance.
Yeah, we get
with
it,
everybody.
Don't we? Yeah.
It's more of more that even people are almost saying, just go away for a while. If you want to go away, that will be fine. Which is
it's Stuart Dallas as well. He's like the hardest working man in football as well, isn't he? That's the thing. There's absolutely not a shred of doubt that if he had time off, anyone would be going, oh, he's probably just slacking.
Yeah,
he's not Wasim Boy, is he?
And I guess that's it. It's where people are. He's taking on this responsibility, but all the people that he thinks are asking him to take this responsibility are actually saying, no, you would be fine if you went away for a couple of weeks.
And so much of that was represented in the fan chant at the end at Carrow Road when they're singing "There's only one Stuart Dallas." It's not just about singing his name; it's about all the things that That
which is
signifies,
which is the other angle to it of whether he does need to go away or not. Is, as Bielsa said, it's very much his decision, and you're followed by him, and that's what gives me the reason to think that if he had said, I really need to get away, that the club might have let him. But the other benefit that you get as a footballer is that when that news is out in the open, the support you get is practically unrivaled, because if you decided to go to your 9-to-5 job, you're not at the end of it going to have 10,000 people singing your name and saying, I suppose 3,000 in Norwich, but thousands of people singing your name and supporting and helping you through it. So you need the balance somewhere else. Whereas, what's better for a person perhaps feeling that support without the time away will do him good in the long run. You just hope he's all right, because what the hell? And you hope that whatever's up with the rest of the players is sort of similarly understood for whatever it could be, because there's no. What was interesting with Dallas as well is he used that the football phraseology where he said, I don't want to use this as an excuse. Use it as an excuse, because it's not an excuse. It's an explanation.
It's a good reason.
And it's the same thing with, you don't know what's up with Jackie Harrison, but if he does say, yeah, COVID has completely knocked the wind out of me and I'm really struggling to play properly, but I'm doing my best every match, fine. But he would do the same thing. He said, I don't want to use COVID as an excuse. It's an explanation. And there's often factors that are maybe not of the severity of what Stuart Dallas has been gone through, but we don't always allow them to be involved in discussion, because it's that culture of just nothing, absolutely nothing can excuse you giving a less than 10 out of 10 performance against Norwich on the weekend, when lots of things can factor into if Jackie's dog has been kidnapped, I'm not surprised that he's not playing very well, because that would worry anybody, because it's a lovely dog, and it's a big dog, and you'd wonder how they got it.
Doesn't even need to be a 10 out of 10 performance against Norwich Moscow, I was going to say. A 7 is all you need against them. That's all you need.
We didn't even get that, did we?
Well, we got it from...
And I won't accept any excuse.
We got it from Raphinha. He did that. He did the tweet trolling, so the Instagram trolling, and then he looked cool in his Halloween outfit for the party that they all had to see. It was like
he really looks good with eyeliner.
He does, doesn't he?
I would like him to take that...
Going to sort of a new romantic kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think...
Can you imagine Graham Souness's reaction to a player taking to the field with eyeliner on?
It's 2021. I don't care what Graham Souness thinks. I would love... He looked cool. And if players can go on the pitch with hairstyles that make them look cool, and dye the hair a certain colour, or wear flash football boots, that is all contributing to how they look, which is the reason you do those things. You want to look a certain way on the football pitch, and that even goes down to a sensible short back and sides is a conscious fashion decision of how I want to present myself on the football pitch. Wilf Copping in the 1930s, when he played for Leeds, didn't used to shave on the morning of a game so that he could intimidate centre forwards. This rough, unshaven character. So
is that what you're going for?
It's all part of it. So if Raphinha,
shame myself, mate.
If Raphinha wants to take to the pitch with his frosted tips, he dyed his hair a little bit, and eyeliner, it's absolutely fine, and he looked amazing. I think the slashed throat maybe needs to stay on Halloween only, but the rest of it was a makeup artist from Brazil who is based in Leeds. Did that for them. What are the chances? I'm quite intrigued as to how they found each other, whether it's just there's a network of Brazilian people living in Leeds.
That feels like an extra ball to me. Come and do it on makeup.
I mean, yeah.
So you'll look forward to seeing us all sat here with eyeliner on next week. I mean, won't even acknowledge it. We'll just crack on like it's not even happening.
No, I thought you meant like a makeup tutorial. We'll get a makeup artist in and they can give us a makeover and we'll film it. Yeah, they do great on YouTube. So
why not?
It could be.
There were rumours of Steve Evans wearing eyeliner, and I don't know if it's just the natural look of his eyes, probably gravy filtering through the tear ducts or something. But he did have a very defined, and I think people described him as quite beautiful. His eyes, if you could see them in isolation.
Are you one of those people?
If you could see them without the rest of Steve Evans, you could really be drawn in. But then as you moved out, you'd be like, oh, God,
Okay.
Yeah.
oh, there's more of it.
Get somebody who looks at you the way Steve Evans looks at a chip butty. That's what it is. But
It's Raphinha, though, anyway, isn't it? He's our hero of the week. Let's give him the award. He's had a good week.
He's done well.
And he's great. I love him. Love him. Just want to keep him now. Right, well, that wraps it up then for this week's show. Show 250, more weekly action next week, more propaganda after Leicester, and the match ball, of course, after the Leicester victory.
yes.
Yeah, good. All right, we'll speak to you then. See you in a bit.
The Square Ball Podcast.